Today I want to talk a bit about lucid dream misinformation. There's a lot of it out there and you need to be aware of it and be wary of everything that you read online. So let's get into that. Hey guys, welcome back to Tipharot. It's me, Matt here, and today this video was inspired by a video I made recently. In fact, it's a video I recorded just, a few seconds before I started on this video. So anyway, that video, I'm talking about some of the things I wish I knew when I started lucid dreaming. And one of the things I talk about at the end is how you shouldn't necessarily believe everything that you hear in terms of lucid dreaming stories, in terms of lucid dreaming methods and stuff like that. There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of it is just, honest mistakes. People, misremember things about their experiences, or people exaggerate their experiences without realising it, or people, explain things in a way that gets misunderstood to you. But a lot of the time it's also a bit more nefarious. Some people can capitalise on the fact that they can lie to people. It makes it seem more enticing. You're more likely to get more of their content if they portray lucid dreaming in a certain way to you. So I'm probably going to title this like "Click here to get misinformed" or "Click here to get scammed" or something like that. And basically there is a lot of misinformation out there. So the first thing I suggest you do is check multiple sources. If you go through all the major lucid dreaming sources, whether it's people on YouTube, whether it's lucid dreaming forums and guides and blogs and stuff like that, if you go to all of them and they all seem to agree on a particular detail, then chances are that detail is at least mostly accurate. Now, if on the other hand you read this in one place, one thing, and you go somewhere else and it's slightly different and then it's different somewhere else, there's a good chance that might not be true. One that I hear a lot is actually one that I haven't done any favours for. It is the idea of having lucid dreams that last like a year or months or whatever. Basically, your lucid dreams are limited by the length of your REM period. Now, there is such a thing as time dilation, which is where you perceive time as passing slower than it does. So you can, in theory, have these dreams that stretch out for, what seems like a much longer period of time than the actual amount of time you spend dreaming. But time dilation has its limits. You're not actually going to experience like an entire year in your 20-minute dream. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have these dreams. You certainly can. There are people who have had these, very long seeming dreams, but it's not the way you would imagine it to be. It's not like where you live out, every minute of a year because of time dilation. It's more like, you have this experience that feels like several hours of all these different memories throughout that long year. But it's actually not several hours, it's 20 minutes. But you remember all these things from a whole year period, so it feels like it's not just been several hours, it's been a whole year. And so you have this recollection of this year-long dream or whatever, but you haven't really actually been there for a year or anything like that. And a lot of people have these kind of experiences and then they kind of exaggerate them, they kind of confuse the details and so on, and it makes it sound like you can go and spend a year, on vacation in a lucid dream. And I believe that I actually mentioned this subject in my first video. So, like I said, I haven't done this any favours myself. I mentioned this in my first video because I have had a few experiences like that. I've had some experiences where I lucid dreamed what seemed like, say, a week in my dream. But it wasn't like, I was there for 24 hours of every day. Because when I actually go back to my memory of those dreams, I remember like key events in each day. And I would remember, say, going to bed and waking up the next day and stuff like that. But I wouldn't remember a 24-hour period. It would be more like, a few minutes in each day that I would recall. And so if I actually added up the totality of that week-long experience, it was actually, fitting into a normal, say, 10, 20-minute long lucid dreaming experience. And that's how it is with those kind of things. So I mentioned it, in my first video because of that, but I felt that it was worth bringing up in this video because I don't want people to get confused by what I've said about it and equate that to what other people have said, that, you can actually have these dreams where, you experience a year or whatever. Myth number 2. Lucid dreaming is satanic or evil or dangerous or whatever. I see these people, making these videos and they're like, oh, if you lucid dream, you will lose your soul or you're doing something terribly wrong or whatever. They make these videos about, astral projection, out-of-body experiences as well. And I can kind of see where the idea would come from for, say, something like an out-of-body experience, because if you believe that you're actually leaving your body and it's not just an internal experience like a dream, then maybe, you can put some religious beliefs on top of that, like, oh, maybe if you're leaving your body, you're leaving it open to attack or whatever. I can kind of see where they would get those ideas, even though they're completely silly and ridiculous ideas. For lucid dreaming, I can't though, because, with lucid dreaming, it's something that's been studied. We know that it is something going on internally in our brains, and, we know that it's just something that happens to us. We know we dream every night. It's not like lucid dreaming is suddenly you know, making these dreams happen. These dreams are there, you're just getting aware and getting in control of them. So I don't see how anyone can think that there's something bad about it, something dangerous about it, or anything like that. But unfortunately, there are these people, and they are very, very adamant about it. You know, if you watch on their videos, they're very, very passionate about telling you how, you know, if you do this, you know, you're going to go to hell, you know, you're not going to survive, you could not wake up in your sleep, you could end up in a coma, whatever it is. Don't believe these people, basically. And the same goes for these astral projection and out-of-body experiences. You know, if people tell you that these are dangerous and you're going to lose your soul, or you're not going to wake up, or any of that, or that these are bad things, no, they aren't. Most likely there's something very similar to lucid dreaming occurring within your brain. And even if they're not, even if there is something more to them, even if you are actually leaving your body or something like that, the fact is, people have been doing these things for thousands and thousands of years, and people have learned that they are safe, and you know, that you can keep doing them, and that they function in a very similar way to lucid dreaming, where, you know, even if something happens to you during the experience, you just wake up in your bed. The next myth, and this is one of those ones that I've never seen done intentionally to trick people or anything like that. It's always just a fact that not everyone is aware of this. But the idea that sleep paralysis is absolutely necessary to do wild. And, you know, it's only relatively recently, I think, that people are starting to realise that it's not. You know, I only realised that, you know, a couple of years ago, something like that, a little over that, I realised that, you know, I didn't need to actually go through sleep paralysis to do wild. And then wild got a whole lot easier for me, because sleep paralysis is notoriously difficult for me to achieve. But, you know, for the longest time, all of the wild guides that you could find anywhere would get you to go into sleep paralysis and then perform the method. More recently, some people have suggested ways of doing it that don't involve sleep paralysis. You know, I try to normally teach it without doing sleep paralysis, because I find that for a lot of people like myself, it is very difficult to enter sleep paralysis because you can't relax enough, and so you lay there in bed for, you know, half an hour trying, when if you just avoided that step and you just did it directly, you could have succeeded. So realise that wild is not necessary. However, this shouldn't be grouped with the other bits of misinformation that I mentioned in this video. In other words, you know, if you see some channel telling you to do wild during sleep paralysis, that's just their way of teaching it. You know, that is one way of doing wild. It's a valid way of doing wild. It's not like the other things in this video where if you see a channel talking about that stuff, you probably shouldn't watch that channel anymore. With the wild thing, it's okay, don't worry. You know, they are teaching a legitimate method, it's just that that isn't necessary. You don't actually have to go through that. Another one is the idea that you can just get lucid any night that you like. Even if you're an expert at lucid dreaming, there are going to be some nights where it just doesn't work for you. You have a bit of a dry spell, or, you know, you don't wake up in REM, or something goes wrong. And this also applies to beginners as well. A lot of the lucid dreaming guides out there, and, you know, I do have guides that are named like this. I have a guide called How to Lucid Dream Tonight, but I'll go into that bit in a minute. But there are all these guides out there, you know, telling you that they're going to help you lucid dream right away, and you should be aware that that is not going to be the case for everyone. You might be lucky and you might lucid dream your first night trying, but for a lot of people it's going to take a lot longer than that. So back to my video, How to Lucid Dream Tonight, for example, I have one called that, but that is about how to give yourself the highest percentage chance possible of lucid dreaming in any given night, and I state that in the video specifically. But you should be aware when you watch any of these videos that that is exactly what they're doing. You know, at best they're giving you an increased percentage chance of getting lucid in any given night. There's nothing that's going to guarantee that you get lucid in one particular night. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe down there and check out my Patreon page. Now, if you want to keep watching, I've got two videos for you guys. Maybe you prefer this one, or maybe you prefer this one. Pick your favourite, watch it, and I'll see you soon. Take care.